African violets captivated Penny Smith-Kerker the minute she walked into a First Austin African Violet Society show. She bought a few plants to brighten up her office at IBM.
Some people kind of have these hutches in their office with a built-in fluorescent light. It can work real well under one of those. That's what I had. I've known people that put them on top of file cabinets that were then closer to the fluorescent light. It's just really fun to grow them. They're beautiful and they propagate really easily, so it's really fun to see them, go from a leaf to a plant.
She got serious about growing them when the kids got older, and she and husband Mike devoted a downstairs playroom for them. Now her plants hit the road for public shows, where they'll also be on display when the First Austin African Violet Society celebrates its 50th anniversary in 2014.
There's lots of variegated foliage now. It's got different textures, and the leaves have different shapes, and scalloped leaves and curled leaves and red-backed leaves. The blooms are what people also really like. I don't think of them as being cyclical with the seasons. In a house environment, you can't grow them outside, at least not here in Texas. Inside, they'll bloom several times a year, and they usually kind of go in a cycle, though, where they bloom and then they kind of rest, and then that's how I think of it, and then they kind of gather their energy, and then they bloom again. One of the reasons there's so many African violets and so many different kinds is because they mutate very easily. This is a blossom type called a fantasy that has all the splashes and dots of color. And then this one next to it, that blossom is an edged blossom. You can see the white edge.
In the family Gesneriaceae, species African violets are native to regions of Africa.
In that family are a wide variety of plants. There's syningas, or what people call gloxinias. There's streptocarpus. There's petrocosmias. If you have a few, they aren't that hard to maintain. Maybe once a year you're going to need to repot them, take it home to do that. Although I used to take up newspapers and potting soil and stuff and just at a lunch break, repot mine. And they don't drop leaves. You sometimes take leaves off because they get old and yellow.
In their native habitat, they can grow in crevices and rocks. So at home, be sure to select a potting soil geared for them.
African violets like very lightweight soil. Their roots are really fine, and so they need lots of air. If you get something from a store, I would recommend adding more perlite to it to make it even lighter.
What about touching the leaves? Isn't that bad?
A lot of those are what we call old wives' tales. So you can touch African violet leaves and they will not turn black. Your mother just told you that to keep your fingers off her plants. You just don't want African violets to be in moist soil for a long period of time. Again, because their roots are real fine, and if that soil ball is just damp all the time, the roots will just rot.
Penny waters about once a week, but it depends on temperature and soil mix. You can water from above, but dry off the leaves if you spill.
All mine are in stands on trays, and I do tray watering, so I just pour the water into the tray. Mine have a wick in the bottom. There's different ways you can do it. You can have the wick in a separate container. And in fact, lots of people, you can put the plant in a decorative pot of some sort and have the wick down in the pot, and then you just water the pot, put the water down in the pot, and it pulls it up into the plant through the wick. And they like a little African violet food. Don't make it too strong. Whatever is on the label, whatever it tells you, about like half that. I fertilize mine every time I water them. And maybe once a month, I just water with just plain water.
Penny grooms for judging competitions, but even at home or in the office, occasional housekeeping is good.
I'm taking this whole stem off in this case, so I'm just going to break it off. And here, I'm going to cut this down here. And I'm probably going to take that one blossom off that's starting to die. But on these streptocarpus, you can trim the leaves so that and get rid of kind of this yellowing part, which just is a natural part of the leaf. And I use these kind of scrapbooking scissors because they're going to be similar to the natural serrated edge on the leaf. and I just trim it off. And I try to make the leaf end in the same shape as the natural leaf. So this one's going to need to be rounded just a little bit more.
African violets are the perfect pass-along plant since it's easy to propagate them.
You just take a leaf, you cut the stem of the leaf at about a 45-degree angle, and you either put it in soil or half perlite and half vermiculite. Water it, cover it with a plastic bag, and in like 4 to 6 weeks you have what people call we call them little mouse ears, or little puppy ears coming up out of the soil. And one leaf can make 4 or 5 baby plants.
You don't need to set up fans like Penny does, but good ventilation helps, as with all plants.
The fans are going mostly because of powdery mildew, which you get a lot when you've got fluctuations in temperature, so cool nights and warm days and humid like this. I use fans to circulate the air, and actually to treat that I use neem oil in a spray form.
Along with regular meetings, the First Austin African Violet Society holds public sales and shows twice a year where they help newcomers get a start.
It's mostly the relationships and the fun we have with each other. We love to share information and share our knowledge and give each other hints and tips. It seems time-consuming, and I do spend a lot of time on it. But to me, it is, in a way, I think it's a meditation of some sort, because I mean, they are just plants. Nothing terrible is going to happen if something happens to one of them. It's very relaxing just to water them and take care of them, and I'm a very detailed-oriented person, so I get to do all my little futzy stuff with them and pot them up and label them, and I keep records of them. They are quiet. I'm really kind of an introverted person, so they're quiet. I often say, unlike children, they don't talk back. They don't ask for money or the car keys, and if they're really aggravating, I can throw them in the trash can. So, and it's okay.